All right, thanks for coming along, everyone. This morning we're going to talk about digital humans. I'm going to kind of describe what those are soon in case you don't know. But first, a few words about Unique. We're a kind of global AI startup. So we've got customers right across the world. We've got employees right across the world, here in the US, Canada, Australia, and I'm from New Zealand, the home of Lord of the Rings and sheep. People often point that out, sheep. We've got more sheep than people. Yeah. Although I read the other day the ratio is actually decreasing. Now it's only 5 sheep for every person. It used to be 10 sheep for every person. So things are changing. Probably not the best for the farmers, but anyway, this isn't about sheep. That would be a bad presentation. See, these are the types of curly jokes you can expect today. So, you've got to get used to this level of humor. But please don't leave, because it's not about sheep. Digital humans, so we're going to talk about what they are, where you can use them, why you'd want to use them, and then some lessons if you're thinking about using them, learning from the past. It's one of the themes of this conference. We can give you some of our experience. And then we'll look at some AI-specific stuff, large language models, how they apply, and then we're going to talk embodiment, how it applies to VR, AR, and a few other kind of AI topics. So should be fun. So first off, what are digital humans? If you're in the VR space, you might have heard of digital humans where you've got some sort of avatar that represents yourself in your VR space. But what we're talking about here is autonomous digital humans. So rather than me driving my own avatar, these are ones that are completely driven by AI. So the AI knows or figures out when it wants to talk, what it wants to say, how it wants to move its arms. It's completely driven by AI. So whenever I say digital humans from now on, I'm talking about the autonomous kind. They're typically highly realistic, but they don't have to be. They could be kind of stylistic or kind of cartoony if you want to. They're real-time interactive. You might have seen some products out there that do like training videos and things. Those are great tools, but they're not real-time interactive. We're talking about the real-time interactive type here, and very much conversational. And Unique as a company, we empower people to kind of build these, help them build these digital humans, design them, build them, as I say, and deploy them at scale for companies, mainly large enterprise kind of customers. Here's a little video, rather than me chatting away trying to describe them, here's a little video showing an example of digital humans.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Sam. How are you this afternoon?
Oh, I'm okay, I guess.
You don't sound sure. Can I help you with something?
Oh, it's just these pills I've had since my bypass. I don't know what they're for.
Did they explain them to you in rehab?
Yeah, but that was ages ago. I've kind of forgotten all about it now.
I can show you a rehab video on meds if you like, Sam, and I can answer questions about it. You sound quite worried about this, Sam. I've set a reminder for tomorrow for you to book an appointment with your doctor to discuss your meds and check for any side effects.
Should I stop taking these until I see the doctor?
No, it is very important to keep taking your meds until you talk to your doctor. Stopping them suddenly can cause problems and you lose the protection for your heart.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Understand.
That's great, Sam. I've set that reminder to call your doctor.
All right. It's kind of quite a cut-down version of our presentation, or one of our videos that we often use, just for time's sake. But I quite like that video because it shows how you really want the digital humans to kind of augment services rather than replace them. In this case, directing someone to talk to their doctor, and also that kind of emotional connection where the digital human is understanding how this person in this medical case is kind of feeling, and so can have better services as a result of that. All right, trying to jump on to the next slide. So that was what digital humans are. In terms of where you can use digital humans, there's a lot of different use cases. One of them that I quite like is the training use case. It might be sales training where you're kind of doing role playing. The digital human is pretending to be like the customer, and you're trying to sell to them. And it's a good way of practicing that without kind of burning leads. Other use cases in this kind of training sphere, one of our customers did an example where they had students who were practicing for job interviews, and they could just practice over and over in a kind of non-judgmental kind of way, less intimidating. And then at the end, the digital human would analyze their performance and give them feedback, you should have better eye contact or speak more clearly or whatever the feedback is. So some pretty powerful training use cases, which is quite good. And there's a bunch of other use cases, and we've got quite a few customers that implement various use cases here. People like Deutsche Telekom over in Europe and Qatar Airways, and a long list of customers. But some of these use cases are quite powerful. Product Genius, when you want the digital human to kind of sell or talk about one of your product or services. Website Concierge, lots of learning-related use cases. Healthcare, you've already kind of seen. And marketing, entertainment, kind of virtual influencers, maybe wanting to clone themselves. They can have people interacting with their digital version. We only ever do that kind of stuff with their, obviously, explicit permission. They come to us to want to do that kind of thing. And even personal assistants, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit later on. So that's the why and the where, or the what and the where. So in terms of why you'd want to use digital humans, you've probably noticed that a lot of interactions are heading towards more kind of AI-mediated kind of interactions. And you may not agree with the number or the date, but it's certainly clear that there's an increasing number of interactions that are heading towards being handled by AI systems. And yet on the flip side of that coin, other people have noted that actually most people would prefer to be interacting with a person still. And so the question is, can we take some of the essential elements of a person and encapsulate those in some sort of automated system? And in this case, we're suggesting that system is digital humans. And so looking at how we can replicate some of those essential ingredients that make human interaction really powerful. We're all used to, right from birth, recognizing other people's faces, understanding what they're saying, what they're feeling based on their body language and the expressions they have on their face. So if we can replicate that kind of human-to-human interface, the essential elements of it, then we can capture some of the benefits of that approach when people are trying to interact with technology. And so there's these extra channels of communication that we can perhaps exploit in technological-based interfaces, digital humans, such as the body language, the expression and kind of the emotion that's being portrayed. And then not just the face and what's being visually shown, but also how the digital human is speaking. So not just what they're saying, but how they're saying it, trying to get that emotion through in the audio as well, which is something that we all use when we're speaking to other people face to face. And then the last benefit of digital humans is that they're always on and always available, which isn't always true for humans. They're not always available. So that's another benefit of digital humans. And people like Harvard Business Review have kind of also identified, talking about this emotional kind of side of things, the emotional connection, kind of moving beyond just thinking about customer value, thinking about kind of satisfaction, but moving towards having more of an emotional connection and using that to maximize customer value. So it's not just us that kind of talking about this. Here's a little video which is showing one of the components in our digital human platform, which we call Synonym. And this is really just demonstrating kind of the range of emotion that our digital humans can portray. This is just like a little debug tool that I brought up, so just kind of one part of this synthetic animation system that we build. So you can see the ability to go through all these different emotional states, including sadness. Bottom lip starts to quiver a little. She doesn't know why I'm making her this sad. It's surprising to her, but the emotional roller coaster finishes with joy, so, we're all happy in the end. Okay, so that's some of the why, and it's not just theoretical. These are some of the stats from many of our customers that we've kind of consolidated together with some kind of hard numbers describing some of these benefits. In fact, one of our European kind of telco customers, they had some really great stats in terms of like conversion rate, so converting leads, people coming in and actually converting those into customers, like a 5.6x increase. Engagement is much higher, talking with digital humans versus like chatbots, like 8 minute on average conversations with a digital human versus like 1.7 minutes with a chatbot. So people are just much more engaged, and not only that, they're more inclined to buy even more than they were thinking. If you go to a website, it tries to encourage you to purchase extra things that are related to what you're after, and digital humans seem to be quite effective at upselling, if you like, with a 4x increase. And there's many other stats that you can read through there. People are just generally more enthusiastic about interacting with digital humans versus other mediums. And this is another one. I mentioned training before as one of my favorite use cases. This is from one of our customers who do kind of in the learning space. And I love the stat talking about recollection of information, which is obviously an important thing if you're trying to learn something. Basically, when you've got digital humans in the mix, they found it was like double in terms of the amount of information that people could recollect versus more traditional learning systems. So yeah, pretty interesting stats. All right, so let's move on to some lessons. If you're thinking about, I've probably convinced you at this point that you want to do a digital human. So the question is, what are the lessons? If you want to go out and build your own digital human, what are the lessons that you need to learn in order to do this? And one of the key things that we often do when we're working with customers trying to come up with a digital human is to really build a backstory. And this might seem like a little bit extravagant, kind of, why do you need to go this far? But ultimately, people will always get out of an experience only what you put in. So if you want to imbue a digital human with like personality and trying to have this emotional connection, then you really need to try and inject that information or that kind of experience into whatever you're building, in this case, a digital human. So, maybe you're trying to figure out some backstory for a digital human and you think, maybe I want them to be like a head of AI for a technology startup, in their 40s and from New Zealand, and you like long walks on the beach and coffee and, they're kind of surprisingly good looking and, that kind of stuff. You might want to do that, just in terms of a backstory, thinking about their likes and their interests, because ultimately you want this digital human to represent your brand, right? If you're an enterprise, you're building a digital human, it's going to represent you. It's going to be your face and your voice, essentially. So it's quite important that you really nail this down. And so we've got a team of people, in fact, who do this all the time with lots of different customers. So they're really experienced at being able to take people on a journey through developing what a digital human can look like and sound like, and this personality. So that's quite an important part. And then in terms of the actual creation of it, we have a whole art team who work on either taking a brief in terms of, I want the digital human to look like this, certain age, gender, maybe ethnicity, whatever the parameters are. And they can take that brief and kind of maybe some reference images, a nose like this, ears like that. They can combine that and work their magic, and most of the images you've seen are from ones that they've kind of just created out of nothing, if you like. And so we work with people to build that. The alternative approach is we can recreate a certain person. And so this involves, normal kind of almost movie-like studio equipment for scanning a person, and then the art team can refine that quite raw kind of result. And this is one example that you see on screen here of one of our customers from UBS, Danny Colt. So that's always a possibility. Obviously, it's a bit more work. And then on the audio side, the previous speaker was talking about this too. text-to-speech kind of systems. Again, you really want to find a text-to-speech system that has this kind of level of emotional control in the delivery, because there's no point having a really expressive face, but then a very flat delivery. So we integrated against a bunch of TTS services, 11 Labs and Azure and things like that. So that's quite an important consideration as thinking about the audio side of the equation. And then we come to the part talking about large language models, which are a massive boost for digital humans. Previous to this, we were using more traditional NLP systems. And the struggle with those systems was that you really had to train, if you like, the digital human with every single possible response to every question that it could conceivably be asked. And that's, a pretty exhausting kind of task. Large language models are almost the opposite of that. They can talk about just about anything, but you need to actually focus in on what you don't want the digital human to talk about. Because of course this is representing a brand, right, if it's a large enterprise. And so you need to be careful about kind of staying on brand. Like if you're Burger Company A, you don't want your digital human talking about Burger Company B. Also, you often get a lot of perhaps dodgy, comments to the digital human, racist remarks, sexist remarks. You need to be able to filter out all of this stuff and let the digital human, respond and just kind of assertively redirect the conversation in a positive way. And so we actually built a system called Synapse, which kind of handles all of this because it's quite a large task. And the other thing it does is it works hand in hand with that synthetic animation system that I talked about, because the large language model is just going to give you a blob of text to speak out, but there's no emotional context in that whatsoever. So we have this idea of kind of this Synapse component in our system preparing a blob of text to speak. So you get the output from the large language model, but you need to figure out what hand gestures am I going to do with this? What emotion do I need to portray at a certain point? And then we give that information to our synthetic animation system, which can then perform in a really realistic, kind of alive way, can deliver that response. And that's the part where we focus a lot of our time is that animation system and really making the digital human feel alive. Because of course you can make it look as real as you like, but if you don't have that realistic animation, it's going to feel dead, basically, not alive, and you're not going to get that emotional kind of connection. And the process of developing, the last kind of point here, the large language model, it's a very iterative process. Whenever we go to customers, it's never a thing you just do once. You want to constantly refine it as people are interacting with it. You want to learn from those interactions and continuously make it better. And then on the interaction side of things, or on the integration side rather, you really want to have, I think, a minimal kind of UI. You want to have enough so that it's obvious to the end user how to engage and converse with the digital human, but not so much that it kind of distracts from that engagement. And in our case, we have like a UE SDK so that our customers can integrate this technology directly into their website or things like that. And it makes it really easy for them to kind of integrate the technology, and we do all the platform side of things so they can just think about the experience and how they integrate it. And other accessibility things too. If you've got hearing impaired people, you should probably have closed captions. And maybe if they're in a noisy environment, speech to text, the process of understanding what they're saying might be difficult. So maybe you have the ability to enter text questions is an important thing. So those are all factors to consider. And of course, we're at Augmented World Expo, so we want to talk about embodiment in the world. This is one of our customers, Qatar Airways. We built this virtual flight stewardess for them, Sama, and this is an example of, at a trade show, they wanted to have Sama on like a full screen. This is a kind of a proto box. So it gives you a sense of depth by having shadows and things. So that's quite effective. And then here, as we talk about augmented reality, which is one of my favorite topics, I think in the future, we're really going to transition from thinking about like AI services, whether it's ChatGPT or Google Assistant or whatever it is. You often think about these as like a service, but I think we're going to transition to think about these more as an individual and more as a personality, more as someone that you're interacting with rather than something. And I think AR can kind of play a role in that because you can get all of the benefits that I mentioned of a digital human, but also the tangibility of having one of these digital humans in the same space as you. And so one of my pet ideas is having some sort of miniature person who's always kind of sitting on your shoulder like a Tom Thumb kind of character who can help you out and is a fountain of knowledge. And I think that would be pretty fun. And as I say, the same benefits that I mentioned, personality and the ability to express and understand emotion and stuff like that. And then in terms of kind of a future wish list for AI-related topics, some of these are already kind of in progress, like long-term memory. That's already something that some of the large technology companies are definitely working on in terms of these AI models. I think it'll be good if we can have digital humans in multiple channels, so not just 2D related environments, but also, as I say, VR, AR, and even voice only, like we have voice only assistants these days. And we've already talked about kind of the highly customizable look and sound. That's where we do it unique. And planning and reasoning is another thing which large language models don't really do at the moment. And so there's a lot of work as people are really trying to pursue artificial general intelligence to try and imbue these types of AI models with these capabilities, but large language models aren't really capable of it. So there's a lot of work in terms of, can we retrofit that using agents? Can we improve large language models using this technology? Or maybe it might be a completely new architecture that isn't large language model, generative AI based. So that'll be an interesting direction. Full environment awareness. So you really want the digital human to understand as much about you and where you are and what you're doing as possible. The more context the digital human has, the more it can assist you. And then this last kind of category of things, which perhaps applies more for like personal digital assistants. Maybe it might have shared interests with you, like a buddy who, loves surfing as much as you do, and I found this link on the internet that you'll love about some new surfing competition, whatever it is. Perhaps maps integration, so it knows where you are and can always help you out if you're in a jam, I don't know where to go. Your little buddy on your shoulder can direct you. And maybe even health device integration. We've often got kind of watches and things that give us information. It could even know you in terms of your body and your health status, maybe even better than what you do yourself. It might be able to predict things like that. But all of that comes with some obvious caveats around a lot of private data and like, do I trust whoever's building this assistant to look after that data, and maybe it's running locally on your phone, or there's a lot of implications for those types of things. So yeah, it'd be great if you come and have a chat with us. If you've got some use case that you're interested in, yeah, come and have a chat. We'd love to talk through it with you and give you some ideas. And so we're at booth number 432. Alternatively, you can go to digitalhumans.com and just have a conversation. We've got some of our digital humans running on there. So jump on there and give it a try. Thank you.
Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for questions on this one. We ran right up to the wire. So we'll be starting up next in another 5 minutes here. It will be our next session. But Jason Catchpole from Unique, everyone.